yeah, mix only vanilla with rose because that's the only way to go, because it is not true. There is no true set formulation to which fragrance oil to mix with what, because one. Hola mi gente bella y bienvenidos a mi canal. My name is Sandra if this is your first time here, and welcome to my channel. In this channel, I'll be speaking and you'll be learning about everything high-end or luxury candle making business tips. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So as you can tell by the title of this video, we'll be discussing fragrance oil blending 101 for candle making for your high-end candle making business. So this video was requested and I was happy to do this, and it was a lot of fun. I also had to do a lot of research and to gather my thoughts together to come up with a lot of the stuff that I do, and I had to pinpoint exactly what I did so that you all could follow along and know exactly what I was doing. And so I could put it into actual words, because it's easier for you to do stuff and then transcribe what you're doing and then put it into words. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of this video, we must first have an understanding of the different notes and know exactly what aroma fits within each note. I know I touched up on this on my previous two videos, which I'll be linking down in the comments below, and also I'll pin it in the description. And I also will put it up here on the note card so that you can also watch those videos after you watch this one. But this is important to know so that you can have the background knowledge of fragrances. So you as a creative must also know your product in and out in order to effectively make, market, and sell your candles. Okay. So, although this information may sound redundant and you have already heard it before and you have already seen my previous video, but I promise you that this information is very good. And you must understand the concept before you apply the techniques so that you can recreate your own blends whenever you want. First, we'll be discussing the top notes. And the top note is the notes that you first smell when you pick up yours or any candle, or at least you should smell when you pick up any candle, the first whiff. So they also evaporate quickly and are emotionally uplifting. So those are the characteristics of top notes. They are also said to transition into the middle notes very nicely and are the most volatile, which means that they burn off quicker. So the percentage of fragrance, that oil that you use in the top note also depends on you. So you could use whatever percentage between 1% to 100% in your top note. I don't recommend you use 100% because then you won't be using any other of the middle or the base note, but know that you can use however much percentage you want for the top notes, and then I'll get into more detail into the middle and the base note. Okay. But I generally like to use around 30% mark. I can use a little more depending on the tartness or sweetness of that particular fragrance oil that I want to use as my first scent when you first smell my candle. So the scents that belong to the top notes, I'll also be putting it up either over here or over here so that you can see the list. I'm going to just name a few. I'm not going to give you the entire list because it's a lot. So the first scent that is involved or included in the top notes will be in the citrus family. And in the citrus families, you'll have your scents such as your lemons, your grapefruits, your orange zests, and also the aromatic fragrances such as lavender. And lavender, believe it or not, can be also involved in your top notes as well as in your middle notes. It all depends on which note the lavender plays when you are mixing your fragrances. And also in the citrus family, you'll find the lemongrass and also the peppermints, to name a few. So again, you're going to see the chart, which I'm going to put up here so that you can see the different scents that belong to the top note family. Okay, now we're going to move into the middle note. And in the middle note, that is considered the heart of the fragrance of your candles or of your actual fragrance blend. So in those scents, you'll have whenever you burn off the top note, which will be your light scented fragrances, then it moves up to the middle note. So keep in mind that the middle note is always the note that lingers on the longest after the top note burns off when you are lighting your candle for the first time. Okay, so the notes that belong to the middle notes, those notes are the florals, the greens, some fruity scents also, and some spicy scents. Okay, now the florals such as rose, jasmine, ylang ylang, neroli, geranium, German chamomile. There is 2 different chamomile scents or flowers that you could use, but the German chamomile is the one that is used for fragrances because it is a lot sweeter of the 2. So the next one, well, I'll be putting down, or one of the sides, the actual list again, like I did before for the top notes. So for the middle notes, you also have lavender. And again, like I said before, lavender is that scent that could go from the top note and also could be a middle note. So we have the greens, and in the greens, we have like parsley, oregano, palmarosa, and rosemaries. And those are the ones that will give you more of a green type of scent that would, if you want to have more of an, I don't want to say earthy, but it does give it like an earthy plant-like scent. So if you want to have more of a plant-like aroma to your candles, then you will add more of that scent in your fragrance blend, so you could have more of a plant-like scent when you blend in your candles. So if you want to have more of this scent, the parsley, the oregano, the palmarosa, or the rosemaries, or the other ones that I have on screen, then you will mix in more of those so that you could have those to be the standout scent when you burn your candles. Now we move on to the fruity scents, because the fruity scents is also in your middle note. And then those will be your bergamot, the Roman chamomile, and the Roman chamomile is the one that is a little bit of earthier scented type of chamomile because of its properties, and this is the one that makes tea. And then we have your corianders. So all of those scents which makes up the middle note are the scents that if you want that to be a little bit more pronounced, then you add a little bit more. So the last of your middle notes will be your spicy notes. And then those are the cinnamons, the cloves, the anise, and the cardamom. So those will be some of the scents that will belong to the spicy family of your middle notes. And scents in the middle notes make up 40 to 80% of the fragrance, depending on how strong or how many different notes you blend within that particular middle note. So the middle note makes up 40 to 80% of your blend when you're mixing fragrances from the top, middle, and base notes. Okay, so the top note you will be using, depending on how much you use from the middle and the base note, will give you an idea of how much you should blend in for your top note. That's why I kind of play off first my middle and then my base note, and then I kind of say, okay, so I want, let's say I want my top note to be a little bit much more floral, and then I'll add more of the top note and then I'll scale down a little bit of my middle, and for my base note I'll give it a little bit less so that my base note is not that much more in my actual blend, and I'll explain. So now we move on to the base note, and then your base note will be the grounding note, and that is the most heaviest colors, and they're usually the darkest colors. And those fragrances such as tea tree, cedarwood, sandalwood, frankincense, myrrh, vanilla, oak moss, patchouli, tobacco, and turmeric, and those will be composed of your base notes, and then they make up 10 to 25% of your fragrance when you are blending in your fragrances. So if you are using, let's say for example, 10% of your base note, then you want to use either, let's say for example, you want to use 10% of your base note. Now you know you have 90% to work with between your middle and between your top note. So for let's say you're going to be mixing, let's say sandalwood, and you know that sandalwood is a very strong scent, you will be using 10% of that. Then let's say you want to use 60% of your middle note, and you'll have 70% total, and then for your top note you use 30%, and all of that equals to 100. So there's no set rules about how much percentage you are going to be using for each top, middle, and base note, but just know that whichever note you want to be the one that hits center stage is the one that you should add the most of. Now the base note is the one that completes your actual fragrance and brings everything together, and all your other scents are the ones that mixes in with your base notes to give it either a smooth or warm, sexy or sensual type of aroma. So it all depends on what you want that fragrance to be, to stand out from, that you'll add either your vanillas or your sandalwood or your cedarwood. If you want in my opinion, if you want your fragrance blend to have a more of a sensual type of aroma, then you'll add vanilla. If you want your scent to have more of a smooth, laid back type of feel, then you'll either add cedarwood or sandalwood, and sometimes frankincense. It'll give you that smooth warmness to your actual aroma. All right, now if you want to make any note stand out, then you'll add more of that note, as I said earlier, because most, if not all, fragrance oils are manufactured or created in a lab. Those scents must be blended with other scents to create that scent. So let me explain. For example, if you have a vanilla fragrance oil, it's not an actual real vanilla, it is actually manufactured vanilla. Now, if you have vanilla essential oil is an actual essential oil or an actual scent that came directly from the plant. So that will be the difference between essential oils and fragrance oil. And in my opinion, it is a lot easier to know the true scent of an actual fragrance if you get it directly from the plant. And also, if you want to make an actual blend and you want to know the real scent of the actual blend before you mix in the fragrance oils, then it is a lot better to mix in essential oils so you can see exactly how that scent will smell as a real true scent. And then if you, because I know essential oils are very expensive, then you could go ahead and get the same type of scents that are in essential oils into a fragrance oil and mix the same ratio as you mixed it in with the essential oil so that you could have a real scent of what it is. Now, let me reiterate that essential oils are naturally occurring scents, and they go through a distillation process where the plant's essence is extracted to capture the true aroma of that particular plant. So the scent may come from the seed, it may come from the root, it may come from the flower, it may come from anywhere where the richest part of that particular scent, that plant resides. So if it's within the flower, then they'll be extracting it within the flower. So if the scent comes from the root, they'll be extracting the scent from the root. And it goes through a distillation process. I'm not sure how they do that, but the whatever I did when we were in chemistry, it was a lot of not chemicals, but a lot of putting the plant through an actual process. And I'll put it up in the screen so you can see exactly what they do, so that you'll have an idea about how the distillation process works. The scent of the essential oils from the actual plant is true to their nature. So the one that comes from a fragrance oil is not 100% true, but there are some scents that you can't really extract from a plant and therefore must be created in the lab. This is why essential oils are more expensive than fragrance oils, because it requires a lot more effort, a lot more machinery, and the extraction process to retrieve the actual aroma is a lot more extraneous, as opposed to mixing aromas in a lab. So also essential oils can be blended in order to create a new aroma. As I said before, just like how you could blend in fragrance oil, you can also blend in essential oils, and you could also blend in essential oils with fragrance oils. So don't think that you can't mix the two. Yes, you can mix fragrance oils and essential oils, because you actually do need some essential oils to make fragrance oils. So just keep in mind that if you are going to be using essential oils in candles, your candles will be a lot lighter in scent, because fragrances that are made from essential oils tend to be a lot lighter in candles, particularly soy candles. Now again, there is no set rule of blending fragrances, and there is also no set rule to blending one fragrance from the next, because mixing nutmeg with lemon might be nice smelling to me, but it might not be nice smelling to you. So I can't give you a true formula like 2 equals x mc squared or something like that that could tell you that this is exactly it for each individual scent, because it all depends on you and how much of that particular scent you want to mix in when you make your own fragrance blend. However, it is advised that if you are blending from fragrances from the same family, it might not have a positive effect, and not that it's going to blow up in your face, or it will cause you some type of harm, or it will cause a chemical reaction. No, what they mean by that is that if you are blending vanilla with frankincense, that they both have a very strong aroma, and that they both are dark in color, and that you must know that when you blend those two in, it's not because of their scent qualities that you're mixing them in, because one of them will overpower the next. However, if you do mix those two and you make a blend out of them, it's because of not because you want one of them to stand out, but because of the properties that they do give off when they are blended together. So it's not what they smell like when they are together, but what they do overall when you do mix two fragrances in the same family. So you're making that fragrance note that much more stronger when you do blend more of that same family note when you're blending your candles. Not blending your candles, when you're blending your actual fragrances. So a good rule of thumb is, if you want to blend notes within the same family, try to make it so that you'll pick a darker color in that family with a lighter color in that family, so that one of them will be a little bit stronger than the next, so that you as the creator can differentiate between which one you used and which one you want it to be a little bit much more standoffish when you do burn that candle, and when that burn is coming to an end. So let's take, for example, perfumes. Perfumes are the perfect examples of blending fragrances together. And whenever you see a perfume or smell a perfume, those blends are not just one scent and that's it. It is a chemistry of scents together that makes that one particular perfume. So for example, let's take Omnia Crystalline by Bulgari. It is a woody floral perfume with notes of tobacco, pear. Your middle notes will be the lotus, cassia, and tea, and then you'll have your base notes, which is a musk, an oak moss, goyak wood. I'm totally butchering that name. And those fragrances are the ones that make up that actual note. There might be others involved in there, but those are the ones that was more prominent when I researched it on the internet. So if you notice that that this fragrance has 3 base notes, and that is the goyak wood, the musk, and the oak moss, and those 3 bases together makes it a very deep undertone. But because it has the lighter sense of the bamboo, the pear, and also the lotus and the cassia and tea, it makes it a light scent with deep undertones. So notice that you could still mix in fragrances together that makes it light but still has a deeper undertone. And now we could look at the Chanel number 5, which is a very popular perfume. And that perfume is made out of a floral aldehyde. And aldehyde meaning that it was a floral scent that was made in a lab. So they extracted the scent, the sweet scent, from an alcohol, and that's how they came up with an aldehyde. So the top notes for Chanel number 5 is ylang ylang, neroli, lemon, bergamot, and peach, and also the aldehyde. So that's what gives it another extra level of sweet scent. And then it has the middle notes of jasmine, rose, iris, lily of the valley, and then it has the base note of sandalwood, vanilla, patchouli, vetiver, and oak moss. So this scent is a lot richer, and it's warmer, and it also has a sweet scent to it when you smell it. So there are 2 different types of fragrances, but because of what they had used in the overall notes of each of the families is what differentiates the actual fragrance from the next. So in my opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, many aromatherapists, perfumers, or experts or expert enthusiasts in this realm of mixing and blending fragrances, they will suggest for a novice blender to not blend more than 5 or 6 fragrances together until you get the actual hang of actually blending notes and you understand the actual description of each of the top, middle, and base notes, so that you could be able to blend accordingly. So you have to know the composition and the descriptions of what makes a top note, what makes a middle note, and what makes a base note, in order for you to know which scent you want to use, particularly from a top note, which one you want to use from the middle, and which one you want to use for the base. If you want your perfume, if you want your fragrance to have a much more warmer type of scent, then you use a little bit more of your base note. If you wanted to have a more of a middle type of scent, such as lavender or jasmine or rose, then you use more of the middle note. But if you want your top notes to stand out the most, then you use more of the top notes, and then phase out more of the middle and the base notes. Now, the next step that I'm going to be explaining to you will be the techniques to blending, and then there's three. The first one will be blending according to note or ratio. The second one will be blending according to percent, and then the third one will be blending by drip method, but I really kind of like to call it the milliliter by milliliter method. And for this example, I'm gonna need to use my computer so you guys could see exactly what I'm doing, and so that you could see how the whole formula, not a formula, but how to break down the actual percentages, the ratios, and the milliliters, and to put that into an actual percentage that you can actually use when you do blend your fragrances together. Okay, so the first technique is blending according to note. So you have your top, your middle, and your base note. You can do it as a 1:1:1 ratio, a 3:2:1 ratio, or a 4:2:1 ratio. So meaning that you'll have, let's say for example, the first example will be 1:1:1 ratio. You have top, middle, base, 1:1:1 ratio. And then you could move on to the 3:2:1 will be top 3, middle 2, base 1. Or you could do a 4:2:1, which would be top 4, middle 2, and 1 base. And how does all of this play out together is through a formula. This is not a difficult formula. It is just making sure that you do know the steps necessary to actually convert your ratios into percent. If you know how to do this, then you could go ahead and skip this step and go on to the second one. But if you don't, then go ahead and listen to what I'm trying to say so that you could understand, but just keep listening. Bear with me. Okay, so you have the 1:1:1 ratio. Then you know that 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3 parts. So 1:1:1, you add those 3 and you get the total parts, which is 3. So if the total blend must be 100%, then you divide by the total parts. So you'll have 100 divided by 3, which equals to 33.33%. Now, all will be an equal share except one must have 33.34 to equal 100%. Now let's move on to the next one, which is the 3:2:1 ratio. So again, we do the addition. We add 3 plus 2 plus 1, which equals to 6 total parts. So then we divide 100 by 6 parts, which gives us 16.66, which are repeating number all the way to 7. So it'll be 16.667. And then we'll have the top, which is 3, the middle, which is 2, and the base, which is 1. So the top will have 3 times 16.66, which equals to 49.98%. We'll have the middle at 2, which is 2 times 16.66%, and that will equal to 33.32%. The base at 1, and we'll leave that at 16.66%. If you add all of those up, you won't have 100% exactly, but it'll come really close. If you add all of those together, the 49.98, 33.32, 16.66, you'll be under by 0.04, but that's okay, because if you add that 1%, let's say for example, instead of doing 16.66, you do 16.67 by rounding that 6 off, then you'll be over by 0.02, which is not that big of a deal. But if you are stickler with numbers, then I'll stick with being under than being over. So the last example, if you want to do the 4:2:1 ratio, then you do the same thing. You'll add 4 plus 2 plus 1, and that will equals to 7 parts. And you divide 100 divided by 7, you'll get 14.285. And I use all of those numbers because there wasn't that much left. I don't like to round up. If anything, I'll just leave it as is, because you don't want to go over. It's okay to be under. So again, we'll do the 4 times 14.285, which equals to 57.14. Then we'll have the middle, which is at 2, and we'll multiply that by 14.285, which will give you to 28.57. And then we'll have the base at 14.285. And then if you add all of those up, you'll get 99.995. So will be under 0.005. So the more you add to the top, middle, or base notes, you'll see that your numbers will be fluctuating, but it'll get closer to 100, as opposed if you would just use an equal amount of 1 to 1 to 1 ratio. Now that brings us to blending based on percentages. So if you already know that 1 to 1 to 1 ratio is 33.33%, and you're going to be mixing all top notes, middle, and base notes all at 33%, then that's it. That's all you do. However, if you want to make 2 scents, you want to blend 2 scents from the top notes, such as you want to blend a lavender with a grapefruit, then you'll divide that 33.3% into 2. So then you'll do 16.66% per lavender and then per grapefruit. Now, if you want to add a third one to the mix, let's say you want to add a lemon scent, then you do 11.11 times 3 of the 3 fragrances that you want to use in that particular top family, because all of them together should always equal to 100%. So let's move on to the drip by drip method. Now, in the drip by drip method, which is the method that I use when I'm doing my mixing, that will be my what I call my milliliter by milliliter method, because what I do is do it in increments of 1 milliliter per top, middle, and base note. So if I want to use a lavender, I'll use 1 milliliter. Then I use in the middle notes, I want to use, let's say I want to use rose in the middle, so then I use 1 milliliter. And then in the base, I want to use frankincense, and I use 1 milliliter of that. And then I'll move up and down accordingly. And obviously the lavender will be the least one that you will smell, so then I'll bump that up to, let's say, a 4, and then I'll do the 2, and then I'll do the 1 and leave the frankincense at 1. So then I'll just do my conversion rate, and then I'll do the same thing that I did earlier to find out how do I do the percentage, and then I'll do that based on how much I added from each top and middle and base note to know exactly how much I'm going to be using from each particular top note. And again, if you want to add more than 1 in each note, you go ahead and you do that, but make sure that the entire mixture is equal to 100. So to give you an example of a fragrance, so let's say, for example, you want to mix let's say vanilla, you want to use lavender, you also want to include grapefruit, and you also want to include rose in your mixture. The first thing that you should do is know that you are going to equal out all your fragrances to 100. If you don't use 100% of your fragrances, then your fragrance is going to be kind of off, and you won't have a complete blend with all your fragrances. So everything should always equal to 100. Plus, it's easier to work with 100 than working with a 5% mixture. So meaning that you must use a certain amount of percentage per fragrance oil or essential oil, and essential oil if you're mixing those two to get a desired scent. So this amount is very important, and especially true if you want to recreate the exact same scent every single time without adding too much of one or too little of the other in any particular fragrance note. I had to fix that. It was coming out. Now, in order for you to be able to mix your scents together, as I believe I said earlier, you need to know the what makes up that particular scent. If you want your scent to have a dark in color scent, then adding a little bit more of the base note will give you that. So in this example, we were using vanilla, so you'll add a little bit more of vanilla. Now, in my opinion, you should know exactly how the notes blend together. So in order for you to know how to do that, you must know the actual composition of the actual fragrance that you want to use in each note. If you know that your top note is the most lighter in scent, you know that it's a more romantic type of scent, you know that the top notes are light in color as well as in scent, then you have to know exactly which fragrance in the top notes you want to use. If you want it to be a little bit much more fruitier, then you'll know that you want to use some type of lemon scent. If you want your scent to be a little bit much more green, then you know that you're going to be using a lot of more floral scent in order for you to have that green type of scent, like a rose, then you add more rose, which is in the middle family. If you want a little bit much more darker, much more deeper, much more smoother, a little bit much sexier, then you use more of the base note. So you need to be able to know the characteristics of each scent in each base, middle, and top note, so that you will know exactly how to mix and which scent to mix in order for you to have your perfect blend. I can't give you like an actual formula, and I can't give you, mix only vanilla with rose because that's the only way to go, because it is not true. There is no true set formulation to which fragrance oil to mix with what, because one scent might smell really nice for me, but that same scent might not smell nice for you. So you could mix top notes, middle notes, base notes, whichever type of notes you want together to give you a nice blend, but there is no set rule that says you can't mix one note from one family, you can't mix it with the next family because it's going to give you an adverse effect. It is not like how you get dressed, how you can't really mix a design that is all flowery with a design that is all stripes and with varying colors. It's not like that. It's more like color coding. It's like if this color goes nice with this, then this scent goes nice with that too. And it always depends on you as a creative. If you like the scent and it makes you feel good, it makes you feel sexy, and it's a warm scent, then use it. If you don't really like it, then don't use it. There's a lot of scents out there that people like, that I don't like, that you like, that I like too, or vice versa. You don't really like it, but I like it. So it all depends on what you want to mix. So remember that all of your fragrances must equal to 100% because it is easier to work with. Like I said earlier, there's no set formulation and there is no set template to all formulations, to all fragrances, because there really isn't one. And I searched and I looked and there isn't one formulation specifically you must mix this with this in order to get this. No, unless you want to get a desired scent, you have the end result already and you want to combine your top, middle, and base notes to get to the end, then in that particular scenario, then you must mix XYZ in order to get your final result. So that's my opinion. I guess it's many other opinions of other formulators, because they did not specify that you must do this in order for you to get your desired scent. It was all based on you as a creator, and it's all based on your olfactory levels, however you want that scent to be. So let me know in the comments down below which type of technique you really like to work with, either the drip by drip, the one that I like, which is the milliliter by milliliter, or the one that is the ratio, which is the knowing your notes, or you want to try the blending by percentage. In my opinion, it's easier to go from the drip by drip or the milliliter by milliliter and then working your way up to the percentage, because from the percent you can always just go ahead and make it to 100, and then you're good to go like that, and then you'll be able to weigh out your fragrance according to the percentage that you already used. And one more piece of advice when you're mixing fragrances is, the more you know about the fragrance itself, then the better you'll be equipped to come up with your own formulation. So know about your scent, that the rose scent is a friendship type of scent, it is a sensual type of scent, it is a symbol of love. So if you want your scent to have that type of fragrance to it, then you add a little bit more of the middle note, so you could have the rose stand out the most, and then you'll have a little bit of the top and a little bit of the base note, with the base notes are a little bit much more grounding. It gives it a warmer type of feel to the scent. So this is it for this video. It was kind of long, I apologize. I am coming up with another book for you guys. It's going to be more tips about business related content in this book. If you are interested in this book, it is not ready yet, it's still in the works, but if you are interested, I will link down below a link for you to go ahead and put in your information so that you could be notified of when the book launches. And I'll be having 20 free books that I will be giving out, which will be the physical book. I'll be giving it out for the 21st subscribers that I have for this new book launch. So if you're interested, go ahead and post your information in the link. It'll be a private link, and I'll be the only one who'll be looking at it. So the first 20 to get into the list will have the free physical book. Thank you for watching, and if you have anything else, let me know. Leave it in the comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and to like this video, because it helps me in the algorithm. And I will see you on my next one. Bye, mi gente bella.